So the Galaxy S24 series, it's about to come sometime around mid-Jan, and there's quite a bunch of stuff that we already know about the phone. Now some of that stuff might excite you, and some of that might not. Let's go. First, the Galaxy S24 is rumored to be marketed as an AI phone that will give you the ability to generate images on the phone or even extend images using AI. It may also translate foreign languages over a call in real time in your own language. It may also come with GPT-style support built right into the phone, and even give you AI-based suggestions when you're writing emails or sending messages. In fact, it seems Samsung has trademarked the name AI phone, and that's most likely for the Galaxy S24. I mean, Google didn't do this, but Samsung has. Sure, I just hope it's really worth all the hype. Next, you're going to get titanium frame on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. And much like the iPhone, obviously it's going to be stronger, lighter, and yet it's going to feel quite premium. What it also means is that the frame is not going to be that glossy as it was with the Armor aluminum last year, but instead you'll get a matte finish as you get on the iPhone 15 Pro series. Now, I'm not sure if all the three variants are going to get that titanium frame or if it's just going to be the Ultra, but we'll have to wait for that. But fortunately, the bezels on the S24 Ultra are going to be even slimmer. In fact, it's reported that the top and bottom bezels might be trimmed down by half. And you can see in this picture as well, when compared to the S22 Ultra, the difference is significant. So basically just better screen to body ratio. Next, there are some serious improvements in the camera department, especially for shooting videos. Basically, you can now zoom in and still take very crisp 4K videos. First, you'll now be able to shoot in 4K even when you zoom in by up to 4 times. So there's no loss in quality, and you'll probably be the person with the best video shots if you're at a concert or a match. Second, you'll be able to capture a full scene and a close-up video at the same time. So you can take a 4K crop of any video and have it saved as a separate video alongside the main video. Third, there will also be AI-based tracking for videos, which will assist you in tracking fast-moving subject in real time. And so your videos will always be sharp and not loosely focused. So just think about shooting videos of your child or your pet running around. They'll be crisp. And Samsung is actually calling this ISOCELL Zoom Anyplace. It basically uses the 200 megapixel sensor along with Snapdragon 8 Gen 3's AI capabilities to make all of this happen. And because it uses Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, it's probably not going to make itself as a feature in the previous Galaxy flagships. Okay, now, big news. It looks like Samsung is going to replace its 10x telephoto zoom with a 5x telephoto zoom, but with a larger 50 megapixel sensor. Now, for once, it might feel like, well, a downgrade, but it actually has its own benefits. First of all, I believe 5x is more usable than 10x. 10x is usually too far for you to even make sense of what you're clicking. And second, it's going to be a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto as compared to the 10 megapixel 10x telephoto. So even that 5x zoom photo that you get is going to be of really high quality. And another great news, Samsung is finally going to address its shutter lag. They're introducing something called as end-to-end AI remosaic. Basically, once a picture is captured, the processing will be done in parallel instead of sequential, increasing the speed with which image is captured, processed, and stored. And so finally, you'll observe that the speed with which you take consecutive photos is going to be faster. Now let's talk about the display. And while primarily the display tech is going to be the same, there are some changes to note. The S24 Ultra's display is going to be flatter, which means that the device will be even more squared off than rounded. Flat displays are great, they're really nice and futuristic. I really loved it on the Galaxy S22. However, on a larger device like the S24 Ultra, it's easier to grip the device with a bit of a curved design. So while flat displays are great, it might be a bit more uncomfortable to grip. But we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, flatter displays, slimmer bezels, and the peak brightness is going from 1750 nits on the previous year's model to 2500 nits on the S24 Ultra. So quite a bit of bump over there, as well as we might just see 144Hz refresh rate as compared to 120Hz. I know it's not much of a big difference, but if you tend to game a lot on your phone, then it matters a bit. Next, let's talk about the processor or the CPU that's going to be powering it all. And it becomes a little sensitive when Exynos is involved. So it seems like the Exynos CPUs are going to make a return, and it's going to happen in some countries only to the base and the Plus model. The S24 Ultra, regardless of where it is always going to have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Now, we don't know much about Exynos 2400's performance, except for maybe the benchmarks, which may be out somewhere. But if you talk about thermal throttling, camera capabilities, battery efficiency or performance, historically speaking, those have not been at par with the Snapdragon counterparts. So that's one thing to be wary about. However, for Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy, it's going to have 30% more performance over last year's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy and 20% power reduction. Now guys, before I talk about the prices and the variants that are going to be available in terms of storage and RAM, I do want to address a few things that actually I don't want to address. I want Samsung to address a few things. They may or may not be doing it with the Galaxy S24 series, but here's my wish list. First, it seems that the battery capacities are still going to be pretty much the same or around the same capacities as last year. Being leaders in the smartphone industry, I would really expect Samsung to put in a larger battery capacity so their phones can last a bit longer. Second, faster charging speeds. I know that, a couple of videos I've said about how charging very quickly does deteriorate the batteries faster and reduces their lifespan, but I would expect them to reach a balancing point. Like they do already support 45 watts for the Ultra series, but if they could also do that same for the base models, I think that would be a good starting point. And third, their video recording. I mean, the capability that the iPhone has even today, after all these years, is still a bit ahead of Samsung. So I know Samsung is not solely responsible for it. They have to work with the chip maker. So if they're working on Exynos, then they have to work with themselves. And if it's Snapdragon, they have to work with Qualcomm on it. But somehow come to a point where they can really compete with the iPhone in terms of video quality. Anyway, finally, let's come to launch dates and prices. So it looks like mid-Jan, about 17th of Jan is when they're going to announce the S24 series, and they're going to probably be available for sale around end of Jan, 25th or 26th of Jan to be more precise. Usually this used to happen in February, but Snapdragon revealed 8 Gen 3 a couple of weeks earlier than it generally does, about 6 weeks earlier, which has led to all of this to happen pretty quickly. And in terms of pricing, I don't think they should change much. In fact, the US pricing may stay exactly the way it was with the Galaxy S23 during the launch. In other countries, it obviously will depend on the economic conditions, inflation, the currency exchange rates, but you can expect them to be round about the same price band as for the Galaxy S23. As for the variants, it was speculated that there would be a 16 gigs RAM version of the Galaxy S24 Ultra with 2 terabytes of internal storage, but I think that's been ruled out. So you pretty much have same variants as you had for the S23 Ultra last year, or the S23 series last year. On a side note, there are already some phones with Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 that have already come out in the market. So if you're looking to buy a phone primarily for just performance at a lower price, you can look at those phones too. And that's it, guys, about the Galaxy S24 series. I'm sure there would be a lot more leaks that would come out, in the future. But if they're significantly different, I'll try and do another video, and you might want to watch out for that video. So if that is the case, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification icon, and mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.